on, let me get my. No. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another amazing live stream. I'm with the one and only Pack Masters and e-collar training author, one of the most successful, if not the most successful, e-collar book on the market right now, huh?
It's done well. It's done surprisingly well.
When did you first come out with this book?
3 years ago.
Did I even have it? Yeah. Look at your boy here, highlighting and everything. 3 years, that's it.
Yeah. Not what I expected, believe me. Not even close.
Yeah, it's really taken off, man. I think that it filled a void that the world was looking for legitimate information. And what are your thoughts? What are since you've released that book? I mean, you've been training dogs since you were how old?
I started mid-90s, so about 24 years ago, going on 25 years.
Okay.
Around the same time I got into the government job, But the thing with the book, Bill, and when you guys did your live, yes, great live too, by the way. I really enjoyed it. You guys had great energy and it was a great conversation. But when we were talking about the e-collar stuff, I know my name gets associated with that. But if people knew how little I used an e-collar, even though just about every dog gets e-collar trained, it's still such a small part of the thing. So such a small part of the program. But when I decided to write the book, I had people keep pushing me to do so. But the whole purpose behind it was I had seen so many dogs getting fried and lit up. Like so many in person and people sending me stuff. And I knew something had to give. And so basically most of the stuff in that book was just stuff I was handing out to clients anyway. If I knew how well it was going to do, I would have put a little more time into it and put more information in it. But I just wanted something very basic and simple that the average dog owner could implement and have some success without messing their dog up. And so in 3 years, I literally have tens and tens of thousands of like phenomenal messages. Like I'm blown away by it from all over the world, from literally the only place I don't get messages from is Antarctica. I just want one from Antarctica. That's it.
All you Antarcticans out there, get on it.
But I didn't invent nothing. I didn't create nothing new. Right. So many people, before me have done such a tremendous job getting people to understand the e-collar before me. And that's, I just happened to take it and have a little bit of a following to put the stuff out there. You know what I mean? And so really it's, I think a big part of the success is because of what I've seen some of the phenomenal people out there do before me, the Barts and the Pat Nolans and, all those people that have done phenomenal work with the e-collar. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's when I saw somebody do phenomenal work, when I first saw the e-collar, I was like, whoa, this is very interesting. This is just another element of communication and timing. But like you said, you see it being way, way overused.
I've seen disgusting things done with the e-collar, like really disgusting things, and I don't have patience or much tolerance for that whenever there's any kind of animal being harmed like that, Absolutely. I just saw a video while I was waiting for you on Facebook of some savage with a cat in a little like swimming pool, just torturing this thing in front of her young kids. And it's something that it literally turns my stomach and it brings out the worst in me for sure. You know what I mean? But,
because it's not right.
No, there's no reason for it, Bill. And unfortunately today there's such a big push to get the tool banned. And we have a lot of people that give that side a lot of evidence, it's getting better, I think, but we do have to do better. But there's still people on the so-called balance side of things that not only misuse the tool, but you have people that don't like it on the balance side. They don't understand it in a more modern way. They still see it how it was 20 years ago. And when I first saw e-collar, I was a kid. I was a hunter. I was a big bird hunter.
Yeah.
And so my introduction to the e-collar was not good. I saw the dogs running through the woods and screaming and not turning and coming back when they were getting lit up, just running faster and to get away. You know what I mean? And so I swore I would never do that to my dog, and it wasn't until around, I don't know, 2006 or 2007, sometime around there, where I started seeing people using it in different ways. It really piqued my interest. There's no reason for it. There's absolutely no reason for it. And, I just answered a question for someone on a video I put out today that I'm going to be giving my board and train clients because I can't work with them, so I want them to have something to go off of to work with the dog a little bit until we could get hillbilly meathead, but we have to educate the general public more.
And we need ambassadors like yourself that are going to step up and say, hey, look, I stand with truth, and I stand with these dogs that are amazing. And not only that, but that's what attracted me to Bart and Michael is the heart and soul aspect of what they do and the truth aspect. And I think that people are dealing with a lot of reality and truth, uncomfortable reality and uncomfortable truth right here and now as we stream live. I mean, I'm in a mandated stay-at-home lockdown here. It's going to be initiated here pretty soon. I've never, ever experienced anything like this in my life. And I get why, because if we don't do this, then we'll get sick, and there's going to be real consequences, if not maybe even lose our lives. And we don't have control of that. That's something bigger than us. That's natural law, the natural order of things, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I was telling someone yesterday, I did a phone consult with a trainer out of Italy yesterday.
Okay.
I put it out there. I'm trying to help trainers that are struggling. If I could help, let me help, And
Me
so
too.
I was talking to her, and it's bad over there, man. It's worse than we think. And the fear in her voice and the things that she was telling me was outright scary. I mean, really scary, and I feel for those people. They're suffering over there bad. They can't leave the house. There's people dying hundreds a day. And if we don't, I'm glad we moved a little quicker than they did, because
Yes.
I think we'll get a hand on it here eventually. But, it's bad over there. But when you have someone like this trainer, that's their livelihood. And you can't meet with people. And that's what I was helping her with, trying to come up with something that she could do with her clients online. Because although she can't train dogs, she can't see people. People that need it also can't get help. And so there is a market for doing online stuff. You can't do everything online. And when I started doing it, I had no interest in doing it. I didn't think it could be done. But you'd be surprised how much you could do through phone consultations and short videos and breaking things down for people. So you really can do something. And at this time, you have to do something,
Yeah. I mean, necessity is the mother of invention too. And people are, they're doing what they have to do. And even with my clients, man, and who knows where we're headed here, except for, it's just going to change different patterns of behavior for people too. I think after this, people are going to realize, hey, look, we might need to save up. We might need to value things in life a little bit differently. The priorities might shift. And that relationship with that dog might be included, I think, in that priorities. In 2008, I saw an uptick in my business with this recession, and especially after it dragged on for a little bit. Because people wanted to understand and bring value to the relationship that they had with that family unit, and that dog was definitely included in there.
I think a lot of good will come out of this eventually. I think it was a good kick in the ass for everyone. Got to take a step back and slow down a little bit. We used to make fun of my grandmother. My grandmother is 94 years old, and ever since I can remember, when you went to her house, whoever it was, she sent you home with grocery bags of toilet paper and canned goods and everything you could think of because she lived through the Depression. And so when things went on sale in the stores, she would buy a ton of it and stock up. So her basement, she could have been stuck in her house for months and she would have been okay. Freezers full of food and toilet paper and canned goods, but that's because she lived through a tough time, a lot tougher than what we're going through. You know what I mean? Who knows how
Yeah.
bad this can get, but I know I'm going to make a few changes for sure. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. Well, right now, while you're at home, is a good opportunity to kind of look around at things that might need a little bit of work, and while you have a little bit more time, man, I'm geeking out with my little dogs here.
Yeah, yeah. I still have several dogs to work with, which is nice. And they were supposed to go home a while ago, and the owners are like, "Hey, don't worry about it. Keep them here." And the longer I do this, Bill, the longer I like to have the dogs.
Yeah.
It used to be try to get them done as quick as possible and get them home. And now I keep them. They've been here over a month, and I'm in no rush to get rid of them.
Yeah.
I used to do 2-week board and trains. I refuse to do it anymore because just the difference in that third week over a second week is incredible. Like the learning for the dog, everything just clicks in and takes off in that one extra week. And by
Yeah.
week 4, from week 2, there's no comparison. There's no comparison. And even though I do a ton of follow-ups with clients, a ton, basically I'm their trainer for the life of the dog as long as they want me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I still like to have the dog as long as I possibly can, so we don't have to rush, and the dog settles in. They just learn better. They learn better.
Yeah. Well, and not only that, but it's the relationship. And after all, when we boil this down, that's what this is interspecies communication, but relationship building. And that starts with trust. And that doesn't come at first blush. That comes after
Yeah.
experience and waking up that things are kind of the same. Let me adventure out of my comfort zone a little bit more today, and then just kind of meeting them when they're ready. And sometimes that takes a few days when you get a new dog, and just kind of see who they are as that individual, and how that meshes with you. And those moments of bonding and rapport building exercise are undervalued, I think, with some of these programs that are boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, you can't. It's not for me. I know everyone's got to make a living, and time is money, but I think you're better off charging a lot more money and training less dogs. And
Yeah.
someone told me that a long time ago, and it took me a long time to catch that because I used to charge a lot less, and I would try to turn over a lot more dogs, and it's complete opposite, I think, of what needs to be done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I enjoy the not having the pressure of rushing and stressing out about it, because now I know when I don't have a go home date anymore. When they're ready, I send them home.
Good.
And that's a game changer in itself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And then what's the biggest difference with how you would train dogs now versus before? Anything? Would you stuck with? When did you go to Belgium and learn from the
I
Belgians?
didn't. I didn't go to Belgium. That was Duke.
Oh, okay.
I
I thought
wish
you
I
went
went to
there.
Belgium.
I thought you went there too, for some
No,
reason.
Duke tried to get me to go with him, but he poops too much, so I said no.
That guy's trouble, man. I tell you what.
I think the biggest thing now, Bill, is I've always played with dogs. It's always been part of my program, but now it's a much bigger part of my thing. So I do a lot of luring and a lot of marker training in the beginning with food to teach positions and stuff. But once the dog starts grasping the positions and stuff, I move to a toy pretty quick.
Okay.
And I play a lot. I play, and I'm always trying to get better at that, and that's something that Ivan definitely has inspired to do even more of, So there's a huge difference. And when you get these animals playing and having a good time, they're learning, and they're not even knowing they're learning. It just goes through the roof, And so I think where a lot of people make a mistake everyone picks one camp to be in.
Right, right.
This guy follows Bart. This guy follows Ivan. This guy follows Michael Ellis. I follow them all, and
Absolutely.
I've tried to take what
Pooping in
appeals to
Flemish
me.
means what? Pooping in Flemish means something. Bart is watching. Speaking of the devil.
Hey, Bart,
Yeah.
but that's why when I talk to young trainers and they're not following when they're not following Bart and Ivan, what are you doing? Why are you following who you follow if you're not following these guys?
Yeah.
And so the one thing that I've always learned from Bart, and what people have to understand, he never tries to push anyone to do what he does. It's just an ideology. Make it your own.
That's exactly
And I
what
think
he says.
a lot of people, I think, miss that point, and they wind up falling very short because of it. You're not going to be Bart. You're not going to be Ivan. Just try to inspire to be them. You know what I mean? Try to get as close as you possibly can. But you have your own personality and your own quirks and your own flaws. Hey, Bart, and
Bart, hey, Michael.
Yeah,
and they're down yeah, everybody's different, That's what makes life beautiful.
And now with Bart and Michael doing it together, that's just an added bonus. What Michael has to offer, she's added so much to the program, and I wish I can get out there and learn from both of them. They ever tell you about the time I almost got arrested going to one of the seminars? Oh wow, it's on video. It was interesting.
What happened?
It's a long story. There's actually I'll have to tell you when we have more time. I don't want to take up. It was like right out of a movie. I truly believed I was on a hidden camera thing.
Really?
And then Bart and Michael took it a little further the next day, the first day of the seminar. Really messed with me. It was very interesting, to say the least.
But it's also, I mean, like you're saying, it's an eclectic knowledge base. They have their aspect of it. And just like when I was talking to Bart, I went down to Jackie Barbieri's place, great facility down there. And before I went down there, he was like, this is Jackie's, you must understand that you are learning Jackie's interpretation of Napopo. Take and gather any pearls that you wish, but you still have to apply it in ways that you see value in. And man, my mind is blown, dude, with that negative reinforcement, and that letting the dog kind of be creative and letting that dog show you, and as I was being taught as a dog trainer, it was always no, and getting on that dog, and I would see the flattened dogs, I would make them, I would I'd flatten them out. And, but once I saw these dogs that were just so much gusto and so much, just zest for life, and just, that's what I want. I'm wanting my dogs. And that's the first thing I noticed too, when I got back and started to apply what I learned from these guys. And my dogs are like, really, dude? Right on, and
it's awesome. Fun. Listen, the first time he came back to the States, the seminar where he met Michael, that changed everything for me. Like it had a huge impact. It blew my mind, and I knew I could do a lot more. I wasn't doing enough. And I just kind of became obsessed at one point. And even at one point, Bart said, why do you keep coming back? And it's because I take something new every time. Yeah. And he's the first one to encourage you to go work with other people, learn from as many people as you can. Yes. But I'm still trying to apply everything I've learned the times I've been with them.
Well, he's extremely worried, and we've spoken about this many times, about the banning of these training tools. And he's afraid that dogs will pay for it with their lives, but also that people have a very, very wrong misconception of how these tools are used, and how the tools are used as a don't instead of a do, to stop dogs. And we've spoken on ways that we can come together and advocate and actually form almost like a lobbyist union with the IACP or some type of professional organization where we have a voice with some of these lawmakers, because like you were saying earlier, the people that are using these tools incorrectly are giving them plenty of ammunition to use against
absolutely.
you know.
Absolutely. And listen, you know what the only negative thing I ever heard about anyone going to Bart's seminars?
What?
They thought it was going to be a lot more e-collar stuff. That's what a lot of people used to go for. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And I was so grateful it never was. And you know, I've seen him get on people. You know, when you come out, especially before Bart was really known like he is today, people in the dog world knew him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
But I remember watching people that come out and work their dog in front, and I was one of them. You know, scared to death, very nervous. But I've seen people come out and they're so nervous about their dog not being perfect, they're lighting the dog up on the way out with the e-collar. And I've seen him jump on people and make them put it away, make them put the collar away. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
exactly opposite of what most people were thinking
Yes.
back then. And so now I've done things in workshops or working with people where I pull something wacky out of my ass to come up with a solution, and people are scratching their head. It's like, holy, how did you come up with that? Well, I came up with it because I've seen Bart do it before. You know what I mean? That's how I came. I didn't come up with it. But the thing was, when someone like that speaking, I'm not socializing with my buddy next to me. I'm paying attention to every friggin' word, every word. You know, if he's talking, I'm not going to lunch. I'm not going to the bathroom unless I'm going to poop my pants. Then I might go to the bathroom. But when
Again.
people like that, yeah. So when people like that, you have to. And I think the biggest mistake people make with these workshops, for one, they go to too many workshops before they get to implement what they've learned at the last one.
Right.
And when they bring a dog, they're just focused on what that person doing the workshop is focused with their dog. You got to watch every dog, every handler, every situation. That's where that knowledge is going to come from, because it might be something. And I've told the story a million times how something Bart said fixed my Dutch Shepherd, and he didn't even know he said it. You never know what's going to come out of their mouth that's going to have a big impact on you. You know what I mean? You have to really, you can't just go for entertainment. You can't. You have to go to take everything you can. If you're going to someone that has that much knowledge, just shut your mouth and listen. You know, shut your mouth and listen very well.
Look at this is Adrian, because she sat next to me the whole time. He'll stop talking. I had a lot of questions, man. I need to get clear exactly what you're talking about. Like I had my mind blown, dude. Like it was like Silver School in November, and they just stopped at Silver School too. But highly recommend learning from these guys. But just like Larry was saying, zip it. You got 2 ears and one mouth, right?
Yeah. Hey, listen, I've recommended it to many. I get calls all the time. Is this worth going to? And I tell people, I talked about in the live. Listen, I haven't gone through it, but I can tell you, I've sent enough people. Not one person has ever had any regrets.
Yep.
It's exact opposite, So absolutely, go do it. Tell them go to Napopo school, and then go to Ivan's new school that he has, and just learn from the best of the best. You're going to save years. If you don't go work with people like that, it's going to take you years to achieve that kind of knowledge, if you ever achieve it. So
well,
that's not a shortcut.
It's also, you're not just going to take years, but you're also going to be using dogs to utilize that training, and sometimes you're going to take a wrong curve, and that dog might pay for that mistake. And if you can
absolutely
borrow scars, that's what I call it, from learning and having these wonderful mentors. They just had a new book, Timothy Ferriss. You know the Timothy Ferriss dude,
yeah.
4 Hour Body and 4 Hour Work Week. He just had a new book called Mentors. I'm going to look it up really quick.
Oh, really?
Made me think of that. So I want to read that book, and I think it's called Team of Mentors or something. But that's exactly it. And just like Veronica was saying about, she came from the Ivan school, but also the many different teachers that she's had, and also the Tony Anchetta. I have so much to thank him for teaching me just some of the old school. And when I say old school, it's nothing wrong with it. It's not outdated at all. It still is amazing. But when I went to Napopo, I kind of had a better understanding of what I've learned. It just makes you look at things through different eyes and hear things through different ears. And I can't wait to go again. Right.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And listen, a big part of that stuff too is you have to pay attention and learn how to teach, because when it comes down to it, you're a teacher.
That's
And the
right.
better you get at teaching, the more success your clients are going to have. And that's where the real magic is. You are a teacher, and we all have to be a lot better at teaching, and we have to understand who our audience is. You know, too many trainers are failing with their clients, and they want to say that their clients aren't putting in the work or they're not giving. And listen, I've done plenty of experimenting with that. I did one at the IACP. Clients will do what they need to do if it's simple and they understand it.
Yes.
But you can't talk to them like they're dog trainers or dog people.
Mm.
You know, you get lucky every now and then where you get someone with a lot of ambition that really wants to know the how and the why and the this and the that and the terminology. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, people will do what you ask if it's fundamentally doable in real world life of everyday busy life. That's it. It took me a long time to realize that. I used to give people way too much to do from the start, way too much. And then when I started simplifying things, things really changed because people actually enjoyed it. If I tell someone I need you to go outside twice a day, give me 5 minutes twice a day. If you can give me 10 minutes twice a day, that would be great. And people are like, that's it? I'm like, that's it. But it's 24 hours a day inside the home what you're doing. Now, that's not extra work because you're already doing something inside the home. We just need to remove the bad habits and replace them with good habits. And amazing things happen. You know, amazing things happen when we do that. That's my favorite part of it these days too.
Well, and you can hear the people, the clients say, I can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? If they don't do it, they feel like shit because you're not asking for much.
Yeah.
You know,
You're like, dude, I don't know how else to break this down further, dude. Like, this is it, man.
Yeah,
you need a new dog that's
absolutely.
like, 18 years old or something. No, just kidding. Sometimes. Well, and that's it. What we were talking about too is the genetics and breeding and all that stuff. People, I don't think that they know what they can do with their dogs. Their world is pretty deep as far as like working dog, tasks and what you can train them and different sports you can get them in and different, things that you can have them do. And I just don't think people know. And that's one of the reasons why I do these talks with various trainers that have resounded with me and for some reason or another, is just to kind of introduce the world of my followers to them, but also to show people the different form of what's possible with the relationship with their dog, right?
Right, right. Absolutely. And that relationship is everything. But unfortunately, the relationship in most everyday households is completely screwed up. And people just don't understand what a dog needs or what a dog wants, you know? And if we could just get them to understand that part, everything changes. Everything changes.
What do you tell them a dog needs and a dog wants? What do you say? How do you explain that? So.
Well, that's the first thing I focus on over everything. You know what I mean? But almost every dog that comes here with problems, and it's not as bad as it used to be as far as like really bad dogs. I'm not seeing them the same anymore. But people are doing what they think they're supposed to. They're not doing it, because they're just lazy and don't want to do it. But the average dog owner tries to communicate with their dog, their pet, like it's a person.
Yes.
And it creates major confusion, but we all know that. We all know that. Yeah. The trick is, how do you change that? And the easiest way to do that is to show the people. When you show them in their own home how the dog changes in your presence without really doing anything, without command, it's extremely powerful. Like extremely, extremely powerful. It blows people's minds because just like we always talk about how the dogs don't lie, when you could show somebody that, it's very impactful on them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have a dog here now that's a real pain in the ass at home. He's just a real strong, rambunctious dog, but he's a great dog. He's a great dog. And the thing is, when you ask something of him, he does it, and he does it with gusto. It's just that people don't ask him to do something; they yell at him for what he's doing, and he has no idea how to change that. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
He has no idea how to change that. But once we show him, everything opens up. Everything opens up. But I'm very big on the relationship with the client. Very big. And not everyone, you're not going to click.
Uh-oh.
What happened?
You froze a little bit.
Did
You're
I?
not gonna, you're not gonna click. That's what I saw anyway. Well, look at this. This is one of my, hold on, one of my recommendations right here for anybody that might want to learn how to win friends and influence people by Dale Carnegie. You know,
Hey,
that's
now
something that.
listen. There's a lot of people that don't like to read stuff like that, and so I could simplify it for you really easy in one phrase. Okay, you want to click with people? Don't be an asshole. Okay, it works. It really works.
Don't be an asshole. Don't be over the top. You know, don't be.
Yeah.
You know, look at like what really got me too, because I used to kind of be, when I first got into this, was like, you got to do this, you must do that, you must do. And then one day I sat and I watched. I was early for an appointment, and I sat out on the street, and then I watched the family come up, and this mom, she had 5 kids, and I watched her wrestle those kids, man, into the house. And I took him, and I'm like, man, I don't care if she didn't work with this dog. I can't believe, you know, the people's lives that we don't know about, what's going on in other people's lives.
Yeah.
We don't know, you know, and that's as professionals, you know, that's, but you know, we are teachers first and foremost. And a good teacher makes themselves progressively unnecessary, right? And you know, but that's just like when we talk to the people about the trust and the relationship with their dog, it's a trust and relationship with us and that human.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And don't be an asshole.
Yeah, it says, listen, you got to joke around with people. You know, you got to have a good time with them. You got to know when to kick them in the ass when they need it, but you got to know when to give them a high five or to give them a hug too, because it goes a long way. You know, when people are struggling and you don't ease up on them, you want them to succeed. But when they get over these humps, just like the dog, you got to let them know it, and they got to feel good about it. You know what I mean? Because this stuff isn't easy for the average dog owner. It's not. And I work with so many young trainers, Bill, and they do such a good job with the dog, and their heart's in the right place, but they fail with the owners miserably. And they want to succeed, they just don't know how to. And part of it's confidence. You know, people come over and people have to send a dog home in a board and train go home lesson. People panic. Young trainers, it's like the enemy to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They really struggle. And that's something where you have to get not only comfortable with and have the confidence, but you got to take your time. If you just had a dog for 3 or 4 weeks, don't think that you're going to have people come for an hour or two and everything's going to be great and send them off. It's not going to work. You know, you have to sit down and spend a lot of time with these people and be able to get them to understand the most simple basic of communications with the dog. But listen, when someone shows up to me, if I'm not in the right mindset, or if the dog is not in the right mindset, or I could see the people coming, it's, you know, they just got back, you know, landed at the airport and came to get the dog or something, I'd say, take the dog. Go do nothing. Do nothing. I'll see you next week. I'll come to you. You know what I mean? And that makes a big difference, because trying to teach a family when one of the three are stressed out, the family, the dog, or the trainer, you're never going to be successful like that. It's not going to work. So you got to know, you know, you got to in celebration of Kenny Rogers, you got to know when to fold them. You know, you just got to do it. You like that? You see how I did that with the words?
Yeah. You got to know when to walk away, and you got to know when to.
Oh no, you didn't. No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
Because you don't want to count your money while you're sitting at the table, because there'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done.
You know what's funny about that, Bill? Growing up in New Jersey, where I grew up, the New York area, no one listened to country music, right?
Yeah.
And in the 70s and the 80s, but everybody had the Gambler soundtrack. Everybody. It didn't matter who you were. Everyone knows that soundtrack inside and out. It was a monster, you know, just a monster.
We need some more movies like that, man.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Smokey and the Bandit.
I never saw Smokey and the Bandit.
What?
I never saw Smokey and the Bandit.
Oh man! Thank you, folks, for joining us today.
Listen, I never saw Animal House. I never saw Blues Brothers. These are things that people get really upset when they find out
Smokey
about
and the
me.
Bandit is a good one though. I mean, I don't know, but so do you have like? I mean, you're just a charismatic dude. Some people aren't so good with the communication, or they might come off a little bit more abrupt, or what do you recommend? I posted up a link, by the way, for a couple books. I posted up the link at, I guess, the Tribe Mentor Short Advice World by Timothy Ferriss will be released on June 2nd, so I pre-buy that book. And then Adrian Little recommended a book for me, The Art of Explanation: How to Explain Services and Products better. And so I posted that one. I'm in the middle of that one, and so far so good. I enjoy it. But I think you're right. These people that we're talking to, they're not dog trainers. They're not passionate about dogs. They got a dog that they want to behave and be a good companion. And they need this stuff delivered in a way that they can digest and understand and apply, right?
Yeah. Listen, just take one of your clients and give them a behavior that the dog doesn't know. Something simple, very simple. I'm talking as simple as sit or down or place, and ask them to teach the dog. You teach it, okay? Let me see how you teach it.
Okay.
You're gonna see people really struggle, but those mistakes that they make while they're trying are very valuable.
Yes.
All right, because you allow them to make the mistakes, and then you go back and you go over and you show them what they did wrong, and you have them redo it, and you do that over and over. When they have the knowledge and the intelligence, or the understanding, I should say, to teach one behavior, everything else gets easier, because then they understand the why part, they understand the how part. You know what I mean? But if you take most clients, you're going to see they're going to fail in the most simplistic of things when it comes to the dog handling. And you have to let them, but then you have to show them and allow them to get it right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like the dogs when we start out. I want the mistakes. I want the dogs making the mistakes. And I never punish them for the mistakes. I let them just restart, and we do it over. And if they fail 10 times, we redo it 10 times, because on that 11th time, they're really going to understand what you finally want. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But people are so quick to lay the physical correction, and then the dog becomes scared to make the mistake.
They become apprehensive. They not just the mistake, but the handler, the rhododendron bush, the whatever it is in that environment, man. It's not good.
No, we should shape the behavior, not the personality. And we want the full personality in the dog when it's trying to learn. That's where you're going to see the true dog. It's our job to bring out the best in the dog. And by starting to nail it right away for something that it doesn't know, it's going to set you back. You're going to struggle. You really are, Yeah,
and it's going to be uphill, like up. You're going to be going against the current of like traumatic learning, like survival mechanism stuff in the brain of like of conditioned response that is not good, and aversive, that has built and very confused, but not in a good confused way. Talk about confusion, Larry. Tell me. Oh, well, first off, we have another recommendation that I posted up a book. Adrian Little says "Selling the Invisible" by Harry Beckwith, and so I posted up a link to that. It looks like a $8 Audible book. I'm going to get that.
That's way too much reading for me. way too much.
I love reading, man. I feel like a different person after I close the end of a book or something. I'm just like,
you know what, Bill? I get excited when I get a new book, but I get bored very quick. The only book I didn't get bored with was The Talent Code. Okay. That book I was obsessed with. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I went through that book fairly quick. I really enjoyed it, because it answered a lot of questions for me. Like I used to, this works. I don't know why, and that answered a lot of questions for me. I really enjoyed it.
Talent Code, Daniel Coyle. I'm going to put up a link right now. Definitely a good book. It talks about master coaching, deep practice,
Yeah.
Stirring in. I like the marshmallow and the shit, dude. Like stirring in a little shit with somebody, like especially with some of these dogs, because I'm a pet dog trainer that have never ever been told no, or been, sometimes they need a little shit and stirred in their life. I don't mean to say that in a way that, but it's true,
Up until the Talent Code, my favorite book of all time was The Richest Man in Babylon. So two books.
Hold on, let me see. Let me see if I got it right. Hold on.
Hey, Denise.
Oh yeah.
There you go. That's it. My favorite book of all time until the Talent Code. Now they're both up there.
This will teach you how to save money, folks. This teaches you about.
And the funny thing, Bill, is I don't like fiction. I don't read fiction, right?
Yeah.
But with that book, the way it's told, man, I loved it. It's just my favorite book of all time. So my two favorite books of all time have nothing to do. First of all,
he's just jealous, man. Look at his beard.
Mine looks nothing like him. Mine has that salt and pepper sexiness to it, and I just groomed it today, so it's not that bad.
Mine's like copper glistening in the.
I've been stuck in the house a lot. You should have seen what my hair looked. I told my wife and kids I was letting it grow out, but I have the George Costanza. There's nothing on top.
Dude, you got to let it grow out, bro.
I was starting to look like Larry David. It was all growing around.
Oh,
it was bad. I sent my friends back in Jersey a picture, and I really had them convinced it was bad. It's really bad,
So this is a book that I recommend for you, man. I don't know, like you can get these on Amazon. I mean, they're not cheap. I think, but you can sometimes get them for cheap. If you find them cheap, then get on it. Warrior's Edge. So this one is, this one's a cool book because I want you to look who it's by. Colonel John Alexander and Major Goler and Major Morris. So it's the high ups in the military. And what they're talking about in this book is on the back here, it says, now you can triumph on the battlefield of business using remarkable physical and mental optimization techniques originally developed to give the U.S. military a competitive edge, only recently declassified and available for the public for the very first time. These astonishing tactics of psychological techno tools will enable you to harness and maximize dormant skills and ability to give you winning advantage in business and life. And they talk about the Jedi Project, reality mapping, influence technology, decision making, the Deep Quest Project, and power access. So
that sounds a little above my head.
Well, it's
anything with smaller words?
Yeah. I don't know. Let me see what I can find because I probably do. Just a picture book, but yeah, that stuff I geek out on, man. And you geek out on the dogs, and you like to kind of experiment with them, right? And I
love it. Yeah, I love it. I do a lot of weird stuff with the dogs. I really do. Nothing sexual, but just training wise. Not yet, anyway.
It's only been 2 weeks. It's a 2-week quarantine minimum. So.
Yeah, but you know why, Bill? Every time I take a dog that's struggling and I do something weird, something that shouldn't work.
Let's take an example of something weird. Because now I'm thinking all sexual stuff.
Well, I put my leg behind my head and I have mayonnaise.
That's not weird, dude. What are you doing? Vanilla?
Yeah. All right, let's see. Okay, I just posted an article I wrote a while ago, right? My new friend Loki, about a big black German Shepherd. It was a working dog weekend.
Okay.
And beautiful dog, like gorgeous, very strong dog. And I was working in Luca, and we were doing bite work, and I was doing obedience with it, all kinds of stuff. And his owner said to me, "Wow, I wish my dog would do that." I was like, do what? She's like, out like that. I'm like, well, he can. She's like, no, trust me, he can't. I'm like, no, you can. And we just went about our way, and I worked my dog all weekend. During that weekend, bunch of different trainers tried to get that dog to out. All right. Everybody did the same thing, except each trainer that came next just yelled a little louder and got a little more forceful.
Okay.
And that dog would just look at them with the look in his eyes like, bring it. You know, he was not giving in to nothing. So then finally she says to me last day, she's like, do me a favor, work my dog. And I was like, nah, I'm good. You know, she's like, no, I want you to work my dog. And I didn't want to get started on this because I know once I get started, I'm not going to stop. And so, yeah, there it is. There it is.
They can still hear you, Larry, so keep going.
So finally, I said, fine. I took the dog. I had a tug, and I started playing with the dog, and I let him bite it. And then I asked him to out, and the look in his eyes was comical. He loved the fight. He really did love the fight. And she's right. He wasn't going to out. So I brought him away from the owner off to the side, and I put the tug away once I kind of, you know, got it away from him. And we did a little obedience. I just worked him with the leash, nothing to do with the out. And then I took my hands and I spit in my hands. And I grabbed his nose and I rubbed his nose and I did a few things. And then I went back to letting him hit the tug. And I asked him to out and he spit it out. I gave it back to him and we played and we fought. I asked him to out and he spit it out. And now at this time, his owner's sitting there in tears, crying, and we continued to play. I gave her the dog back. I said, here you go, and I walked away. That was it. So I could hear people going, what the fuck, you know, I don't get it. Like, what the hell did you do? And then finally someone asked me, and I knew they would. They're like, the spitting in the hands, like, what did that do? It's not a fucking thing. It did nothing.